Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deb Coviello, Drop-In CEO, and this is Live Talk Media. I'm so excited to introduce to you today Ed Everts. He is the host of Being Brave at Work podcast and the author of Drive Your Career. And he was also a guest on my podcast, and we're going to go into a conversation about humanity and trust between employees and bosses. So, Ed, welcome to our conversation.
Thanks, Deb. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for hosting.
All right. So, this week, I'm going to tell the listeners, the viewers, just a quick story. About 10 years ago, I was in a meeting where I spoke up. And again, mid-career professional, I was being brave. I said something, and the most devastating thing happened to me. There was silence in the room. And fast forward, I was devastated by the reaction. And then afterwards, my boss called me to the mat later on and said, "You shouldn't have said that." And that's all I remember as an earlier mid-career professional. And I didn't remember any of the mentoring or coaching about what I could have done differently. And I see this time and time again in young professionals that they speak up, they're brave, and they're not heard and they're not coached. So, Ed, I know this topic resonates with you. I mean, what advice might you give for people in the workplace to just encourage being able to speak up and being able to trust that they will do it in the right way?
Well, I love the word humanity
Yeah.
because I think that speaks a lot to this interrelationship between people. And, one of the key areas that has to be in place in order to inspire people to speak up and be candid and be who they are when they want to be is culture. And so for young business professionals who want to speak up or feel that something's going in a direction that it shouldn't go, or maybe there are other ideas we should consider, they have to ensure that the culture is going to be welcoming and embracing of it. If it's not, they're going to experience exactly what you experienced, which continues to go on today. And I think we all hear those stories of people who speak up or say something, even if they do it with extreme respect, and the room goes silent because it's just not something, that we do here. So, culturally, it's so important that we ensure that organizations are welcome to it. So if I get a sense of, and as I watch at meetings before I do speak up, because you should observe the culture and environment before you jump in, if I don't see that this is a place that welcomes that, I have to decide whether I want to do something about it and start to influence the culture so I know I can be me when I need to be me. Do I want to leave because this is not the culture that I feel I can aspire to be myself in? We all have choices that we need to make, but really understanding, Deb, the culture of the organization before you step in is so important to do. The second thing, and I'm sure that you did this, is if the culture is welcoming, and a lot of what you're referencing is something called psychological safety, which is this ability for teams and organizations to let people be who they are without judgment or criticism or silence. If there is good psychological safety, which most organizations don't have, so we're still on the cusp of psychological safety impacting organizations, but if there is psychological safety, is always speaking with respect and not hitting people over the head with a 2x4, but sharing your observation cautiously and with respect to ensure that you're not inadvertently hurting or offending somebody else that might be in the room.
So this is really great. So my next question is, let's just say we're in a culture that seems reasonable. I've seen that leaders just expect the people that report to them to just know how to act or say or align or negotiate or talk offline before introducing a new concept. They expect people to know this, and then when the people speak up and they make a mistake, they don't know how to coach them. I mean, if you have a highly aware leader in an organization that wants to create an environment of psychological safety, what are a couple things they could start doing to test the waters to see if the people feel comfortable and trust them? Or how could they elevate the opportunity and start building that? I'm curious.
Well, I think there's two things leaders can do. Is one of the magic words, which is expect. And great leaders never expect something. They are always very clear and transparent about how they want the environment to be. And so they will always talk about, we are a team that respects and honors psychological safety. I want people to talk and speak their minds respectfully, of course. There'll be no judging. There will be no silence. If you disagree, we expect you to disagree. There's a huge focus as well, in addition to psychological safety, on conflict navigation, which is not conflict avoidance, but conflict. And Patrick Lencioni, who wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, would tell you that teams without conflict are not good teams, that you have to have that conflict. So first of all, leaders need to be transparent and share on a recurring basis what their expectations are. The second thing they need to do is then reward people who are behave in ways that demonstrate psychological safety, because I need to know, as someone who hasn't done it yet, what I will expect if I do it, right? So there are people who are punished for psychological safety, like you were many years ago, where you said something and the room went silent. That's a form of subtle punishment for speaking up. And there are others who are rewarded and are said something like, wow, Deb, that's really an interesting perspective. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Or, wow, Deb, that's really different than anything that we've done here. I'd like to push back a little bit and share with you something else, right? And I mean, it just creates more of a dialogue. So leaders need to be transparent, and leaders need to demonstrate respect for and reward candor in these team environments versus punishing it.
You're bringing up old memories here. I mean, I'm reliving my experience, and I'm saying, where were you back then to just talk to? So thank goodness people like yourself, me, from having gone through tough times, we're here to help other people. I mean, I know through the work you do in coaching people, I've got my Human-Centric Leadership Academy. We're trying to teach people how to be brave. And I really like the thing about conflict. I always avoided conflict, but if we can just equip people with a few more tools to say, okay, I don't agree, but tell me more, help me to understand, keep the conversation going so we don't have that silence. But for the person who is trying to be brave at work, and I know that's very special to you, and maybe they don't have that trust with the leaders, they're unsure, they've gone quiet, they're still navigating the culture, they've seen negative reaction to speaking up. What can that individual maybe do to better position themselves when they need to say something brave, how to get maybe a better result?
Well, I think there's a couple of things they might do. One, they might schedule some one-on-one time with their boss or leader to talk a little bit about team behavior. We spend so much time talking about team outcomes, and we spend very little time talking about team behavior. So I'm a huge fan of norms and roles. How are we to behave? How are we to come to decisions? And you'll learn. And the boss might say, here's how we come to a decision. When I say A, I expect everyone to agree, right? So that at least tells you that may not be the type of environment that might be good for you. So, having a conversation with your boss to further understand it, and that's really step one. You want to also have future conversations if it's not what you expected to hear and you now want to help transform their perspective. You might need to do that over, multiple conversations. The second thing someone can do, and one of my favorite quotes comes from Stephen Covey. So in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, habit number 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So don't think your number one objective is to sell your point. What you need to do is ensure you completely understand why someone who has a different opinion or a different perspective has that different opinion and different perspective, because the more you know, the better your outcome will be, because now you know more about why they think the way they think, where their opinion comes from, why they're taking this opinion, etc., which can help you form even a better outcome. So seek first to understand, then to be understood, I think is a highly underutilized leadership skill in organizations, because especially in the United States of America, we're almost raised to speak first to be understood. And then if I have time, I'll understand your point. But, I want you to understand what I'm saying, right? So, we're so assertive on that front that we don't first take time to understand the other person's perspective.
And that is the gem of this conversation, because high performers, up and coming people are so smart. They want to make an impact. So they feel it's by putting themselves forward, and they should. But when we take the time to listen more and understand the people, we might change our message and deliver it in a different way. Thank you. I want to just bring out one more thing because this was so important to me when we had our conversation on the podcast. You put up a lot of content about building those relationships with your boss, more than just setting ground rules and meeting one-to-one with your boss. What are the benefits of building a more positive relationship with your boss and the impact on your career? I'd love for you to share more because there's some great insight there.
Sure. It's been my belief both as a corporate employee and now as a leadership coach for 12 years that in most cases, not all, but in most cases, the most important relationship you have in the workplace is with your boss. And that doesn't mean you have to be best friends. It doesn't mean you have to go to each other's homes on weekends and have drinks and swim in the pool, but you need to ensure that you have a positive relationship with your boss. And so you should reflect back and say, gee, could my relationship with my boss be better? And I will tell you that as I've asked that question of clients over the last 12 years, easily 85% of them have said, my relationship with my boss could be better. For some, it was significantly better, like, I avoid my boss and we don't talk, to, it's not bad, but it could be better, right? So, there are a number of things. And in the book that you mentioned, Drive Your Career, I share some ideas on how to, there it is, on how to improve the relationship with your boss. A couple of ideas I'll share with you. One is, find time to talk to your boss about what's important to your boss. Everybody has goals and aspirations, not just you, but your boss has goals and aspirations as well. And you should know what your boss's goals and aspirations are to help them. A boss wants to know that the people that work for them are all moving in the right direction, because if they're all helping, I'll be helped, right? So I want to ensure that everybody is doing things the way that we need them to do them so that we can make great progress. So you should always know your boss's goals and aspirations so that you can foster and help them. The second tip is what I call the $1 million question, which is you asking others and then encouraging your boss to ask, what's one or two things I could do differently to be more effective? And, it's not a lot of stuff. It's just one or two. And it's difference, which is a little flatter. It's not better or worse because people don't like judging others. And who wouldn't want to be more effective, right? So if you can engage your boss in that type of question and discussion twice a year, your relationship with your boss will get better because you'll be deeper into what's important to them and how they feel that they can be successful in the workplace.
All right. Great wisdom. I feel lifted. I'm better prepared to advise others that I work with in my consulting and coaching business. For people listening, watching this, catch Brave at Work, his podcast, and again, just launched his book. I'm going to be reading it while I'm on my business trip in California. If you like this kind of conversation, I also do the Drop-In CEO podcast. Please subscribe and like. Ed, I wish you a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and much success on the book.
Thank you, Deb. It was great chatting with you today.
All right, be well.
Bye-bye.